Alright, so we're on to Siman Kuf Pei Zayin in Hilchos Niddah. Very interesting, important Siman, but I hope that it should never be relevant. I hope it is never an issue, but it is occasionally an issue. The whole Siman pretty much has to do with Dinei Isha Haro'at Dam Machmat Tashmish, a woman that sees blood, unfortunately, as a result of the relationship. In other words, it is obvious after a number of times that that's what is happening. So this presents difficulties, this presents a big problem in Halacha. This can put a stop to the marriage, to the whole relationship. So this is something that we'll need to look into. The source of this, of course, the Mikvaot of this is in the Gemara. The Gemara already brings this. It was a problem that has existed in the past, and it still exists, and it could be for all kinds of reasons. So we need a little bit of background as to why this happens, and then we will be able to see how the various Rishonim, Achronim, the Poskim, how they deal with all kinds of scenarios. In other words, what can be done, or how do we check, or how do we eliminate perhaps not dam from the makor. Because what we're really concerned here is not just any dam, we're concerned with dam from the makor. You know, we're concerned that this dam is coming from the uterus area, the womb. And if that's the case, it'd be tomeh, as opposed to dam minat tzdadim. Dam minat tzdadim, from the walls of the vagina, in that area, it wouldn't be a problem. As we will see, there is some room for assumptions that blood can be from a makkah, from an injury, from a wound, from some sort of, rash. There's all kinds of situations. There is dam as a result of many factors, even as a result of pills being taken. But even so, it could be that all kinds of things are triggering the blood. We're still concerned, where is this blood coming from? That is really the biggest problem of all. And if somehow we would be able to determine with certainty where the blood is coming from, that would be a big help. But here, the situation is complicated by the fact that it is happening as a result of tashmish. And if that's the case, there's very little you can do about living as a husband and wife then, because that's, of course, one of the things that husband and wives have between them. An essential factor, right. So it's not something that you can easily say, well, let's just forget about it then. No, it doesn't work like that. So just to retrace some steps back from the last Siman, we did cover some of the halachas about b'dik in general, and that maybe will help us here with this Siman too. There are some women who would need to check themselves more often, and they are the ones that do not have a veset kavua. And there were various opinions we said about how often should they check themselves. Should they check themselves right before and right after the tashmish? There's no veset kavua, it could happen at any time. And one of the reasons why they would gain from checking is to eliminate the possibility that the dam that they discovered is not coming from it. Because if I found that dam before, then I'm going to assume that it was there already. So in other words, there are some advantages of checking before, so that later on the woman doesn't run into these complications of becoming completely usher to her husband after 3 times seeing blood that can possibly be from tashmish. So I'm not going to review all the opinions, but we had the Riv, we have the Mechaber, we have Rashi, whether a woman needs to have dika before and after. The general opinion is that usually, even though she does not have a veset kavua, she does not need before and after, except for the time that she suspects she may be getting it. Otherwise, a woman doesn't really have to check herself. Except for the first 3 times. The first 3 times we said was an exception. So we spoke about what's so special about the first 3 times, and part of that has to do with we want to make sure that she doesn't see dam machmas tashmish. That was clearly the idea behind, one of the ideas behind. There is a Rambam, of course. There are some Rishonim who are more machmer. She doesn't have a veset kavua. She does require a b'dika before and after. The question is, does the husband need one? Okay, different opinions. But generally speaking, beyond those 3 times, unless there's a re'usa means unless she actually saw dam machmas tashmish, of course, now she has to be concerned. Now she would really have to check. Alright, so let's see Siman Kuf Pei Zayin. Isha sherata dam machmas tashmish miyad בכדי שתושיט ידיה לתחת הכר או לתחת הכסת, ותיטול עד לבדוק בו ותקנח עצמה, משמשת ג' פעמים. If a woman saw blood because of tashmish right after, and he doesn't say what right after means, which we're going to talk about, but he does say it's bichdei, it's long enough, bichdei shetoshit yada, the amount of time that it will take for her to grab underneath the pillow or underneath the mattress and to take the ed, the cloth, to check, to clean herself. In other words, within that amount of time she noticed blood, then she can have relationships 3 times. If during these 3 retzufim, if during these 3 consecutive times that she was with her husband, ra'ata dam, she saw blood, and we have here in parentheses, kol shekeni matzad gimel pamim dam al ed shelo, the more so she found blood on his cloth. And the reason why there's an emphasis on kol sheken on his, because on his, even if it's a half an hour later, where did that come from? Only from that. Whereas by her, there's other possibilities. So if it's if it's not immediate, it can complicate matters. So if she found that she has blood, and she found that blood pretty much right after was with her husband, 3 consecutive times, that's important, we have 3, and we have consecutive, asura l'shamesh im bal zeh. So the first isur, or the first issue, is that she can no longer have any relations with this man. Ela titgaresh, she should get divorced. Tinaseh le'acher, she can marry somebody else. Niset le'acher, if she got married to somebody else. V'ra'ata dam machmas tashmit gimel pamim, and she saw blood 3 times because of relationships. Retzufim, 3 consecutive times. Asura leshamesh gam im oto baal, she can no longer be intimate with that second husband either. What should she do? Ela titgaresh, she should get divorced. V'tinaseh le'shlishi, she should marry a 3rd one. And now, what happens with the 3rd one? She saw 3 times blood because of relationships, 3 consecutive times. Lo tinaseh le'acher, she can no longer get married to anyone else. Ela asura lakol, she is prohibited from marrying any other man. Ad, that's important here. Ad shetiv, until she gets an examination. And hopefully, if we have time, we'll talk a little bit about what this examination is about. In other words, she still has a chance. We'll get to that. Instead of jumping around, perhaps we'll do it in order here. So a little bit of, this is the first sif. So before we go into the Ramah, a little bit of background in the Gemara. What is going on here? What's wrong with this woman? It is possible for a woman to see damach mustashish. The Gemara says that it could be that in her nature she somehow fills up with blood in a certain spot over there by the womb, and at some point, as a result of the friction or whatever, it shatters. Something breaks up there during tashmish, and that's where she sees blood as a result of the intimacy. Why does this happen? How does this come about? So the Sefer HaEshkol, the Chavas Das, also brings it down, even though I think he himself holds that there's he gives another explanation. There is something called dam chimud. There is sometimes dam that can come about as a result of the excitement. Okay, so as a result of that, it could be a problem. It recurs time after time. It's just that there's a little bit of a problem with this explanation. It doesn't really sit well with the b'dikas hashoferet that we'll talk about later. The examination that is given to her as an alternative to checking if it's okay somehow does not sit well with this dam achimud. So let's just say that this explanation of dam achimud is more incidental. In other words, there can be at times that a woman will see dam machmas chimud, but it does not mean that the dam chimud is the real explanation for this problem that women will have. It could be an additional issue. In other words, it's something incidental. It could also be because of chimud. The Aruch HaShulchan, however, says very simple. He has a whole long dissertation here about this sugya, and he also brings it from the Rambam. He says this is a sickness. It's a choli. It's a health issue with this woman. That's all it is. It's a health issue. And it's very interesting that he says that, because something that is due as a result of a health issue, perhaps there's a cure to it. Okay? So it's not so much that the tashmish is causing it directly, it's an indirect result of this woman having a problem, and somehow the tashmish triggers it. When I say the word I'm saying the word triggering it for a reason, because remember, when did we use the word trigger? There are certain things that a woman can do, other than tashmish, that can bring on jump ropes, fear, right? Or eating certain things. That's why I used to hear also the word trigger, because we're going to see that there's going to be a nafkamina. Either way, there's several nafkaminas here, if you what the reason really is. But anyway, that's what's mashma. It could be that she has a weak system, or bulging veins. Have you ever heard of those veins in the legs that are bulging? I forget what they call them. Varicose veins. So it could be something associated with the veins over there, with the weakness of her system, that basically just collapses or cannot hold the blood, and as a result of the relationship, it brings it on. The Niddah Yehuda says like this: he doesn't talk about why it happens, but he says the fact that it happens makes it resemble a veset. You know how there are veset that we just said that come about as a result of some activity. So this kind of phenomena, this kind of situation where women's blood as a result of tashmit resembles a veset. And other Achronim write the same thing. Resembles a veset that comes about not through days, but through ma'aseh, through a certain ma'aseh. Right.
But now, so to the din that is.
Right. So we'll see. Exactly. Yeah. Right. Exactly. And as a result of that, it's like a veset. That's why you have to be choishish for it. This can bring it on. Okay, gotta be careful now. Gotta be choishish for this. Obviously, you can't be choishish for this indefinitely. You can't live with such a woman. But we will see that there's nafkaminas on whether this is a derabbanan or deoraisa. I mean, there are some nafkaminas here as to what the status of this woman is, and perhaps what you can do about it. So according to the Niddah Yehuda and others who hold that this is like a veset, one of the nafkaminas would be, I think the Rashba also brings this down, Chasam Sofer, Niddah Yehuda, they would all say that the Isser here for her to live with her husband beyond a certain point is an Isser D'Rabbanan. Okay, fine. Just like the din of vestot. According to the Aruch HaShulchan way of explaining here, that this has nothing to do with veset. This is a disease, a choli, it would be a doraisa. That's one nafkamina, one difference of how you look at the situation. We're no longer concerned about how it happens right now. In other words, how do we look? What's the status of the woman now as a result of this? Right.
What they're saying is her, even though there's no blood. This particular time, there was no blood.
Right.
But it's known that she does use blood.
Right.
Then the fact that he's intimate on it, is that what you're saying?
No, it was her status, the isser of her particular.
So regardless of if she had that blood or not, he has to be knowing her haka.
Well, sure, regardless, yeah, regardless, exactly.
Now, when the Aruch HaShulchan is a holy,
right,
is he saying also with respect to her haka, or is he saying if the blood actually?
No, he's saying the whole halacha would be a deraisa then. Okay. Sure, it would. The halacha would be a deraisa. Yeah, and he's not the only one.
He's saying that it's a divorce.
Right.
Is he saying that it's divorce? That he has to
no, not the divorce. We will talk about what to do about divorce. Can we force the divorce? Is there a way out of it? That we'll talk about separately. So right now, I mean, all right. Since you already raised it, such a man is not allowed to continue to live with his wife, even if they separate different beds.
Be intimate.
Even to live,
to share the same house.
They have to get divorced. Now, we will talk about the present day. What do we do today separately? What are the other alternatives? What other options exist? Chachamim were very, very concerned, as we will see from various halachas here, that we didn't make it too hard for someone. We tried to find a way out, if possible. We tried to be lenient in some cases, So we did not apply all the chumras, and there are chumras that other poskim do apply here. Just like they were lenient with agunas, right? They wanted a woman to remarry, a woman to live a normal life, if possible, if at all possible. So here too, this is a very unusual situation. It is a very tragic situation. In fact, she can't get cured. And the question is, what can be done? But so far, what we know, the halacha from just reading the mechaber, is that she has to get divorced. But she can marry a second and a third man, so she has 3 chances, right? After that, she has to be examined. So we'll talk about that. What does that mean? But so far, there are some nafkaminas between Shulchan and other poskim as to how do you look at the status of this woman. What is the halachic ramifications? Is it the rice? Is it the rabban? Okay, fine. It doesn't make that much of a difference. It's usur. I mean, that's the halacha. I'm just telling you, if you look at it as a veset, it's one thing, because veset is the rabbanan. If you look at it as not as a veset, it's a deraisa. What's the second nafkamina which makes more sense?
How does the deraisa?
Here, let me show you where the nafkamina really takes shape. If you hold that this is like a veset, if this woman became pregnant after the 3rd time, she's pregnant now. What have we learned about pregnant women so far? That she's mesulekes domim after nikar ubro. After you recognize that she's pregnant for 3 months, she's mesulekes domim. She has the status of a woman who's not supposed to start. It could still happen.
But we don't need to...
Exactly. Well, can she be with her husband then? According to the Niddah B'Yehuda, yes.
No,
Yeah, but she was seeing dam machmas tashmish.
Oh, you mean tashmish?
She saw 3 times dam machmas
So
tashmish.
you're not talking about this case.
No, yeah, I'm not talking about Basar. I'm just talking about he and other poskim achronim hold that this is similar. It resembles a veset, a form of veset, that something triggers it.
In other words, it can be more strict than the original similarity, what the
right.
is.
Yeah.
So that you would be able to...
So,
be more
yeah,
strict.
right.
Is that the argument?
Well, if just like when she's pregnant, even though she has no veset kavua, right? She's mesulekes damim. Here too, she's mesulekes damim. Supposedly, she would be able to be with her husband.
What if she then saw? That was absolutely prohibited.
Obviously, even the Niddah B'Yehuda would agree that if she saw while she was pregnant, that's it. Right.
What does it mean?
No, she can't. In other words, what happens during the time a woman becomes pregnant? Supposedly she's mesulekes damim.
Right, but now she sees blood.
So it's not
regular veset.
So now she has to be choishish to it again, right? So in other words, it didn't help. Apparently, she's not mesulekes dam. Apparently, this dam
The next
machmas.
pregnancy, she's worried about it. Every month now she has to worry about it.
No, this is after the 3rd time. So, I mean, she's also to her husband.
I'm talking about veset. It's a regular veset.
Right.
I'm not talking because of the tashmish.
Right.
A regular veset. She's misaleket damim as a veset.
Right.
And now she does see blood. She
During
sees
her
blood.
pregnancy?
Regular pregnancy. Let's say it
Okay,
happens.
so she has to just watch.
It could happen, no?
She has to
So
go to the
she's still
mikveh. She has
in
to.
the category of misal, or is she now she's...
No, she still is, but she has to go to the mikveh. She's a niddah
And
doing
then as
that.
the next month around, she's now in the 4th month.
That's
or 5th
fine.
Month.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to worry about it.
She doesn't have to worry about
even
it.
the 1 month she saw.
Right.
But if it's now the case because of the tashmish that she saw blood, so now every month, I don't know, it's like the...
Now she doesn't have the heter anymore.
So she doesn't have it.
No, she does. She would.
does.
Right.
Both saw blood.
Right.
One was because of time she did to be choishish, but now one because of tashmish she didn't need to. She saw blood.
Right.
So one now is the chazaka that will have, that she's no longer in the category of damin, whereas the veset
Yeah.
is still in the category.
Right.
of
So according to the opinion that this is midoraisa, she would be asura to be with her husband during the time she's pregnant or nursing. Even though we usually call those days that a woman during those days she's mesulek. In this case, she wouldn't, because she saw dam machmas tashmish. The dam machmas tashmish told
during
us.
the pregnancy.
No, she saw it before. So even though now she's pregnant or now she's nursing, we're not going to say, well, now you're not supposed to see blood.
Because it's not a transfer of the same test.
Right. It's not a veset. It has nothing to do with veset, and we hold it's a doraisa. Therefore, she cannot, even though she's pregnant. According to the Niddah B'Yehuda, she would be able to, because it's like a veset. Well, now she's not supposed to be veset, and that's it. So it's an interesting nafkamina. Now, according to the Niddah, another thing,
And also you can be to the Rabbanan.
yeah, that's the whole idea. That's the whole idea. Sure. Now, anytime a woman has no vesed kavua, but all of a sudden, after a while, she does develop a vesed kavua, she became more regular, then her vesed she'ena kavua disappears. In other words, the chashash, the concerns that she had for the times that she had to watch out for vesed she'ena kavua, is no longer applicable because she now has a vesed kavua, right?
Yeah.
Right? So that is exactly what would be here. Let's say, but that you understood, right? If she had a vesed she'ena kavua, and then she had a vesed kavua, that you understand that she doesn't have to be choishesh.
No, she's in the
That you understand, right? Right.
She changed the category.
Okay. So based on this halacha, which is the halacha, according to the Niddah Yehuda, since he again associates this whole thing with a type of vesed, if this woman who saw dam machmas tashmish all of a sudden develops a vesed kavua, we forget about what happened in the
What do you
past.
call vesed kavua? What is the vesed?
Every 28 days she sees her vesed.
Oh, she sees it now.
She's regular. All of a sudden now she becomes regular. This woman who was not regular till now.
And she doesn't see vesed touch.
Right. No, I didn't say that.
That's
We
what
don't
I'm
know.
asking.
We
That's what
don't
I'm
know. We don't know.
But eventually we will know.
Well, eventually we'll find out again, but it starts again. It starts from scratch.
So lahatril, we don't have to be worried.
In other words, this once she becomes, according to this sheet, once she becomes vesed kavua, which by the way is not common, a woman who's irregular will be regular, I think, right? I haven't done a study of how many have changed and how many are, how many not, but at least theoretically, if she were ever to become kavua, and we're learning, according to this opinion, that it's all because of a type of vesed, then she will no longer have to be concerned about the fact that she was seeing blood before, for the time being. Why? Because in the same way a vesed kavua gets rid of a vesed she'ena kavua,
And this is just another example.
and this is just another example of a vesed she'ena kavua. So once she develops a regular vesed, she doesn't have to be concerned with the fact that she saw dam before machmas tashmish. Because maybe that was like a vesed she'ena kavua. That's all. Obviously, the Aruch HaShulchan wouldn't go along with this. Yeah. Right.
That's very strange.
Uh-huh.
When it comes to vesed kavua and factor,
Right.
then not only does she now see a kavua, but when she's now seeing a kavua, is that she's no longer seeing a vesed kavua. Otherwise, where do you have a vesed kavua now?
Right.
So one is actually practically physically to exist.
Yes.
But with the tashmish,
Yeah.
but the dam because of tashmish, just because she all of a sudden every 28 sees blood, it doesn't mean that the irregularity, once after 17, once after 9, or not, once after 20, once
Right.
after 25, that has ceased. Vesed kavua is a contradiction. Vesed lo kavua. Because
Right.
as long as you have vesed kavua, you don't have a vesed kavua.
Right. It's
You
a
have vesed kavua, you
regularity.
don't have that one.
There has
But
been a
the
change.
tashmish, but by the tashmish, it's not a contradiction. You could have a vesed kavua and a tashmish. You could
You're
have
right.
28 days
You're
you see
right.
them,
But we
regardless of
don't
the-
know yet. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Sooner or later,
So
we'll
that's what I'm
find
saying.
out.
But at that point, it's very different.
At this point that she developed the vesed kavua, it got rid of her vesed she'ena kavua that she had until now.
If it's in matters of time, otherwise we wouldn't have a vesed kavua.
Right, but
If
he
she's on the 28th and the 25th,
but he
it's not a
considers
vesed kavua.
the royal machmas tashmish as a form of vesed she'ena kavua.
Right, I understand that, but I'm just saying, so it's very interesting.
Yeah.
The interesting point is that
Yeah.
with respect to vesed kavua, which is really a matter of factor of
Time.
there, it's really contradictory. It's
Right.
one opposite the other. They're mutually
Right, and here it
exclusive.
may not
Here
be.
there's no mutual exclusivity, and still he carries it forward.
Right,
So that's
yeah.
what I
That's
find.
it. It is interesting, I know. And time will tell. It's very easy. Yeah.
In that time will tell. Consecutive times.
Right.
3 consecutive acts or 3 consecutive days with the act. Dam tashmish? Or is it 3 actual occurrences, which could be much closer together?
Yes, that's a good question. I saw that is discussed. Apparently, it's 3 times, regardless.
The second.
The only thing is that practically speaking, 2 at the same night may not be noticeable. Okay, as we said before about the cleaning herself, checking herself at night, there were more 2-3 times that you wake in the morning, right? So it may not be practical. So it would really be 3 different nights. That's the way we really look at the halacha, practically speaking. Yes. All right. So far, we more or less know what the problem is, how it comes about, if it's a Derais or the Rabbanon perhaps. Now, what we need to figure out, however, how do you count? Does the first time she saw blood one of the three? Or is it besides the first one, she gets another 3 times to check? The Shach and Taz are very clear here that even the first time is min haminyan. The Raavad says no. The Raavad says the first time doesn't count. She saw dam machmas tashmish. Now she has to check herself 3 times. And you know what 3 times is. 3 times is a chazaka. But why?
So it's actually a kula.
What?
It's actually a kula.
A kula. The Raavad.
Right.
Now, some explain the reason why the Raavad perhaps says something like that. While we would think, why shouldn't the first one be counted logically? So some explain very simply. The Raavad is one of those Rishonim that says that a woman never has to check herself, right? If it's not the time of a Veset, there's no. So it is quite possible that what she saw right now was there before. Who says it was dam machmas tashmish? Unless she felt it, right? Could be this dam was there from before. It makes sense. Now, because it's possible dam machmas tashmish, now she should check herself 3 times. But there are others who hold that she does have to check herself, especially with a woman who has no Veset Kavua, before Tashmish. So if she did not check herself, well, that's the problem. She should have. Okay? Therefore, this is one of the first ones. It is counted. Anyway, there's a machloikis in the poskim about this. The majority of poskim said that there's no difference. In other words, that she checked herself, didn't check herself. We count this as the first incident of dam machmas tashmish. Okay, so what do we see so far in the Mechaber? The Mechaber brings down the Gemara that right now the solution is if she saw 3 times dam machmas tashmish, she should go on and get a divorce and try marrying a second husband. And if that doesn't work, try marrying a husband. What's this?
Wait a minute, after the first one.
Oh, good question. We'll talk about that next. But so far, let's make believe we don't know about this exam. Because that's when I was preparing this, I had a lot of questions of my own. And I was going through about that too. In other words, wait a minute. Can she use? So we'll see. They discuss it.
No, she could. However, she could use it.
No, not necessarily. You'll see why in a moment. Yeah, you'll see why. It's very interesting. Anyway, so far we know that she's given a second and a third chance. What's this good? Why would this make any difference? If it's dam machmas tashmish, is a second husband, a second man, is that going to be different?
Could.
And the answer is yes. The way it works with biology is that the Gemara says it in a very interesting language. Lo kol ha'etzba'ot shavot. Not all the fingers are the same. And I don't think I need to elaborate what that means.
Not in Greek.
You know, yeah. Not all the fingers are the same. Okay. Then let me skip a little bit, because I want to introduce another term. The Gemara says, okay, so you're giving her a chance, 3 husbands, 3 times for each man. Why not stop after the first time with the 3rd husband? In other words, why 3? So the Gemara, there's another term, v'lo kol ha'kochot shavot. Very important term. Not only are not all the fingers the same, not all the kohot are the same. Kohot means not all the intensities or powers are the same. What that means is that sometimes the relationship could be more forceful and sometimes less forceful. So you need to see 2 things here. You need to see different situations that involve different fingers, and you have to allow for the same man. It's the same man, same finger. 3 times, because lo kol ha'kochot shavot. Maybe sometimes it's more forceful, it's less forceful. So you have to allow for it to be fair, a fair analysis, a good analysis of if this is dam machmas tashmish. You have to look at the 2 possibilities, 2 kinds of situations of force and size. Or, in other words, different men and different situations. Okay, good. This pretty much explains, at least, why she's given so many chances. Now, what exactly happens? Me'ikar adin. I don't know, how do we permit it me'ikar adin? If something is asur, if something is suffix, especially if it's a suffix d'oraisa, even if it's not a suffix d'oraisa, what allows you to continue? Just because you want to try? What's the basis of the heter here? So first of all, the Meforshim explained the basis of the heter is a sveka. That's the basis of the heter. Because there's suffix number one, maybe it's mina makor, maybe it's mina tzdadim. Yes, we have a suffix. Where did this blood come from? From the size, from the source, the makor. If you tell me that it's from the makor, not all the fingers are the same. Now, I want to interject here. I want to add something that the Achronim speak. There's some shilas and shus that say, current day shilas and shus that say, well, the husband, the first one should not say, well, I'll be softer next time. It was already 3 times. Let me stay married to her, but I won't do it all the way. No, it's us. Okay?
They would say that the second.
No, I'm saying that's it. He saw it.
He would say that, and she wouldn't have. So
right. Obviously, if
3 times.
now it's already too late, right? So you can't say. A person cannot say, well, you know what? I'll be careful. No. But part of the sveka, it says that. Maybe it's from the Mekor, maybe it's... And even if you say it's from the Mekor, not all the fingers are... So that's the basis of the heter of continuing and trying out. Maybe it will solve itself with a different husband. Now, it's important to point out that the Achronim, I saw, Sejuva brings it down here, that if she did see a lot of blood coming out, then it's already only one suffix, not 2 sfeik. She cannot go with another. A lot of blood is blood that comes from the core, not from the tzdadim. Okay, that's an important point.
So that your blood tells the source.
Yeah, if you have a lot of blood, if it's a lot of blood, then forget it. It's already a problem. It's already only one suffix. You can, like blood from a real period, from a real period, not just a stain or a little bit of a drop or two. Right. Okay. So anyway, so what do we have so far? That the basis for the heter of trying out is because we want to give her a chance, that perhaps with another man it may work out differently, right? Okay. Now, if it did not, the Gemara says that she's asura at shetivdok, until she checks herself. All right. Before we see how she checks herself, let's see the Ramah. Yesh oimrim she'enanu bekim eze mikre machmas tashmish. Today we're not baki. What is called dam machmas tashmish came b'shira niska. We don't know how much to wait after. What if she waited 5 minutes? What if she waited a half an hour? Lachein. Therefore, he wants to say that kol shero gimel pam somoch letashmish. If she saw 3 times close to tashmish, mikre ledidon machmas tashmish. According to us, if it's close enough and it's not a half a day later, it's called machmas tashmish, and she's asura al balo. Okay, he brings down this opinion. We don't hold like that. We're not machri. This is one of the ones that I told you that we try to be a little lenient and do consider the fact that if it was now within a few minutes, and there's different machlokes of what it is, a few seconds, a few minutes, because if she notices later on in the day blood, let's say this is night, and this is sometime later in the day, in the afternoon, obviously we're not going to say that's da machmas tashmish of last night. So we are going to be lenient here. Obviously, even the Ramah Lechora would agree with that late in the afternoon. The question would be 1 hour versus 5 minutes. Is 1 hour called samoch letashmish or not? So that's what the Ramah is bringing this down, that there's an opinion that says we're not bekim in that, but we are lenient. That if it's beyond the shear, then we can attribute it to something else. That makes a big difference. These 3 times, they have to be consecutive. If they were not consecutive, in other words, one of the times, let's say she was intimate with her husband 4 times, and one of the times she did not see damak mastashmi, she's not a surah. The Chaver also says that later on. It doesn't make a difference whether she saw 3 times machmas tashmish right after she got married, by the way, as long as it's not dam besulim, which we'll talk about. We have eliminated the possibility that this is dam besulim. Otherwise, obviously, there's no problem here if it's dam besulim. So but it doesn't make a difference if it was in the beginning of the marriage or 10 years later after the marriage. All of a sudden, she's seeing dam machmas tashmish. Even then, she's a surah. But there is one difference. He doesn't bring it down here, but I saw the poskim bring it. That if in the beginning, right after they got married, she sees dam machmas tashmish, he doesn't have to give her a ksuba. I mean, this is not what I intended to marry. This is not what I had in mind. Something like this. This is not my fault. He's been living with her for a long time, and then 10 years later she developed something. I mean, he has to support her. He has to give her everything. See, there is a difference.
Successfully.
Exactly. Yeah. But anyway, otherwise there's no difference in the halacha as far as whether she continue with him or not, whether it happened later in life or in the beginning. Obviously, this is only talking about if he's really close to tashmish. If it's not close to tashmish at all, like I told you the next day, well, obviously, she would have to go to the mikveh. Once she's clean, she would be muteres to her husband. The dina kemisha in la vesed, and her din would be like somebody who does not have a vesed. Well, obviously, there's blood coming. Okay, so she's like somebody that does not have a vesed. You have to be concerned about certain days, and that's it. So it's only a question of whether if it happened very, very close, then it could become a problem. All right, so how does she check? Ketzad bodekes. How does a woman check? Notelet shvoferet. She takes a tube, a hollow tube, pirush kaneh halul sheloferet, made out of lead. Any smooth material. We don't want it to be of wood, because wood can scratch. It has not metal. Metal can, so it has to be something that will not scratch her. So it's shvoferet shel ever. Ever is oferet, lead, upiha ratzuf letocha, and the lip of this tube is, I don't know how it's called in English, the lip is pretty much going in. It doesn't have an exposed, rough surface. The lip or the edge of the tube is closed. When you build walls, you're building a house, you're putting up drywall, there are corners. You will be asked by the builder, the contractor, if you want edges or if you want it rounded. Okay? It's a different look. But it's not only a different look. If you edges, square edges versus rounded, you also have to add a metal bar, otherwise it will break. Somebody hits that edge, it's drywall. So in order to reinforce it, they have to put something to strengthen the edge. The two sheets meet. But the rounder looks nice. It's not, it's not 90 degrees. It's a nicer look if you like that look, of course. So here, it's also something like that. It's rounded. It's not, there's no edges to it. Because anything that has an edge, if you stick it into her body, it could cause her to bleed. So we want this shvoferet, this tube that you're going to be sticking inside, to be made of a material like lead, that piha ratzuf letocha, that it's somewhat rounded, v'notenet betocha, and in this tube she puts mekachol, she puts like a little stick, and berosho, on top of this little stick, you put a cotton, a moch. Yeah, I'm not sure exact translation for mekachol, but it's like a little, I don't know what they call it, something very thin that you use to, I guess, to go through narrow spaces. Like a Q-tip, exactly. Cotton swab, or yeah, exactly. So the main thing is that on top of that mekachol there is a moch. And that's important that it's on top of moch. Umachneset oto, she puts it in botomakom all the way to the top, and on that there's also machloek. Does she go all the way to the top? Well, she has to go till the spot where usually the man goes. That's the whole idea. Ad makom shashamash dash. That's as the Mechaber says. Until more or less where the shamash goes in, penetrates, until where the husband goes in. So nimtza dam al rosho. If she sees blood on the head of this mekachol, biyadua shu min hamakor, then we know it's from the makor. Vasura and she's asura.
They translate here, by the way, fluff,
Cotton wool, fluff. Okay, very good. So if she sees blood on that head on the top of the moch, then asura. Im lav, if not, bi'ado shu min hatzadin umuteres. Then we know it's from the sides, and she's muteres. Ve'af bizman hazeh yesh lesmoch b'dika. So even in our days, you can check, you can rely on this b'dika, as the Tur Beis Yosef say, Ledas Rambam, the Rosh, the Rashba, the Rif, the Ran, they all bring down this b'dika. Okay, what's the head of the b'dika? Why should we allow such a b'dika? So the Shach explains here, because the b'dika is intended to see if she's already healed. That's what the Shach brings down. It's plainly to see that perhaps she did have dam all along coming from the makor, but maybe now she's healed, and this is a good check. A last check, the last chance possible. So this somehow will enable us to see, did she heal? Others hold that the whole b'dik of the shoferis is just to reveal, just to let us know that in reality, the dam was never coming from the makor, it's coming from the... And that's the way it's understood from the Gemara. Because that's what we want to really determine. Is it from the makor? Because there is blood. Or is it coming from the tzdadim? So somehow this b'dika is more of a final b'dika to tell us, is it coming from the makor or coming from the tzdadim? Now comes the obvious question that you raised. Wait a minute, if that's what this b'dika does, do it with the first husband. Right? If this is such a good b'dika. All right, so let's see the Mechaber. What the Mechaber has to say about this first. Mechaber brings down, and based on what he says, you'll realize how he holds. If she wants to check herself while she's still married to the first one, after she was 3 times with him, she's allowed to, and some say no. But the Mechaber says yes. Okay? In other words, there is an opinion that holds that this b'dika, in fact, can be used even with the first husband. After 3 times, yeah. And then, muteres lo. If in fact the b'dika comes out good, and it's done through an expert, it has to be done properly. And by the way, today a doctor can do it too, if you can rely. Today it is possible, by the way, before we go on, it is possible today to get cured from this. That's what I've read. There are ways to deal with it, with pills and all kinds of things. A doctor can look into it. It could be checked to see where the blood is coming from. There are ways to deal with it. It doesn't mean that perhaps cured completely. Perhaps this still could be a problem for which women will eventually have to get divorced. But I don't think it's so common. And from what I read, there are ways to treat. So if it could be treated, of course, that's the best thing to do. I wouldn't recommend that she wait till the 3rd time. Anyway.
Yeah, so that means eventually, why can't first?
Exactly. We'll see. So far we know that from the Mechaber, that if she wants to check herself with the first husband, hareshut be'ada, it's permissible. Umoteret lo. And the Mechaber says, v'yesh omrim she'asura larishon min tashmish lishi ve'elech afilu b'bdika. But there are some who say that she's asura to her husband after the 3rd time that she sees blood, even with the b'dika.
After the first?
Right, exactly. That's what Rashi says.
So after they found that it's not from the makor after the 3rd time? If they found it is from the makor, then it doesn't help. So
I'm going to explain it. V'yesh lismach, the Rambam says, and it brings out Beis Yosef b'shem Askama Sapoiskim, yesh lismach hasvar rishon al-hakil. As I said earlier on, this is one of those examples where we are lenient. We allow the woman, even with her first husband, to check herself. We follow the first opinion. And the same is true in Hirgisha, Tsar uke'ev b'sha'at hashmish, lekula alma yesh lismoch ha'bdika b'bal rishon. She felt pain during the time of Tashmish. According to everyone, she would be allowed to, she could rely on the bdika even with the first husband. Because then we associate the dam with some pain that she was having, some real makkah. Of course, she would still need a checkup, she would still need an exam, but then there's a better chance that it's coming from the makkah. Okay, so what's going on over here? Why would some say, go ahead and check with the first husband, don't wait, and why would some say no? It appears to be from everything that I've seen, that the bdika of shvoferes is not as good as the bdika of another man. In other words, generally speaking, a good bdika is another instance of tashmish, another man, to see what's going on in her body. That those bdikas, that's what the Gemara suggests that. Otherwise the Gemara says, you know what, have her checked out. Apparently, the better bdika is another man, or another instance of it.
Can you say that the bdika with the shvoferes, where the source is, the bdika with another man is, what is causing, regardless where the source is, whether it was that particular etzba that was causing, or that particular koach that was causing it. So even if the source was from the makor by the first one.
Lemaisa, you're right. Lemaisa, you're right, because that's why this additional bdika is suggested. Right. It's an additional leniency, and it's an additional suggestion, which some say, and that's why they say that it's done at the very end, after the third husband, because this is a bdika belet brera, as they call it. No other choice. You try different husbands, different instances. So this is another leniency, belet brera, when you have no other choice.
Let me ask you
one last exam. Well, let's see if it's coming from the makor.
Let me ask you a question.
Right.
Now, what if you check husband?
Right.
And you found it comes from your second time?
Okay, now you've already anticipated the other opinion. The other opinion say, no, you know why you don't want the first husband to check? Because if she finds out with the bdika with her first husband, she will not be able to get married to a second husband.
Because now we know for sure from the
Now we know for sure it's the makor. So
we don't want to run the risk.
We don't want the risk of checking. So in reality, that check by the third husband is to her advantage.
In other words, we're allowing her to, just because we don't know for sure it comes from the makor.
Right.
That's the basis of the leniency.
Right. So you see,
once we know for sure it comes from the makor, we can't let her marry.
Yeah. So some say it's a bdika belet brera. That's why it's at the end. But you can do it the first time. You can do it if you want to. That's what the Mechaber says. You can do it with the first husband. It may help you. You say no.
No way.
No, don't do it. The reason why they put it at the very end is for a good reason. It's to help this woman.
Don't do it, or it's not allowed to be done.
Well, you're right. It's two separate things. One says you cannot do it. She's already asura. And that's what we just saw. And the other, what I said, is really those who say, why wasn't it suggested to begin with? If you could do it at the end, why not do it in the beginning?
So they would simply suggest not to do it.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
But the Mechaber said, after the first husband,
That's the first opinion. Right.
So according to the first opinion,
right.
She has the permission to do it. She chooses to.
Sure.
So then, if the other opinion comes and opposes it, the other opinion can't be that she shouldn't. The other opinion doesn't have the should.
That's what I said. Yeah, that's his question.
The
other opinion is, there is an opinion that says it's also. Once she's become asur, she's asur. There's no chances. You're right.
In other words, by the first husband, it's asur is doing the check with the shofet.
Exactly. Right.
Not only that the husband will not become permitted, she's not allowed to do the
For the first husband, she's asura b'bdika. Right.
Does that mean that she's allowed to do bdika, but she has to do it, or she's not allowed to do?
No. With the first husband, she can no longer live with.
Right. No, it's taken care of.
She has to get a divorce and go on to the second one. Right. And then at the very, very end, she can still do. She cannot get married until she checks herself.
Well, would she be permitted for it, even though she's divorced? No, she divorced the first one. She's no longer married to him.
Yes.
Now she does the bdika with the.
Supposedly.
According to that opinion.
Yes, I believe so. But it would not allow her to go back to the first one.
Forget the very
Right. Exactly.
I'll tell you why I have a problem.
No. I think that's a very good question, and I think the answer is yes. The bdika, because the bdika is a determination whether she has, like the Shacha said, perhaps she's recovered.
So the next question.
Right.
This is all dealing with the.
Right. Right.
At some point, or whatever.
Yeah.
Can a doctor make the determination? Or her? Can that be used in lieu of this?
Yeah, so that brings up the question, can we rely on a non-Jewish doctor?
No,
a Jewish doctor who is from, yes, can rely on it. As long as he knows for sure, he's certain. He doesn't say, I think, I know, I've checked, yes, you can. So today we do have instruments, we do have other tools at our disposal to check these things. All kinds of things, yes. Yeah. Now, that's just to eliminate the doubt whether it's a makkah. I mean, that's not the immorality. But if once it's from the Mekor, you're still stuck with this problem. The question is, can she heal? Yes, it's possible. And that's what the Shach says. That's the basis of the bdika. To allow a bdika at all. Why do a bdika now? She's also. Because maybe she no longer has the problem. Come on. I mean, maybe the problem disappeared. Why not give her a chance?
And then she could remarry him, marry her first husband if she has
Not if she got married to a second man.
No, she got a second man.
It's too late.
But if she didn't.
If after the third time.
Yeah, they talk about it, the poiskim. There's some poiskim that hold that if in fact the doctor confirmed she recovered, she can go back to her first husband. I saw that some poiskim are matter that. She's recovered. That's what the Shach says pretty much. That a bdika would help. Kol shekeri, if it's a confirmation from an expert that the problem is no longer there. Yeah. But you see how it could be to her disadvantage if she does a bdika with the first husband. Yes. All right. There's a machlokes amongst the Achronim how long that shear is after the tashmish, that it would be the samoch letashmish enough for it to be considered damach tashmish. I saw some say that it's a half an hour, up to half an hour. Some say within 9 minutes. Some say 3 minutes. Some say 15 seconds. And I think Rabbi Elyahu Kin said 15 seconds. So in other words, he's lenient. In other words, if it's somehow later on, when she woke up, she checked herself, who says that was damach tashmish? In other words, for us to consider it to be damach tashmish, it has to be somuch. It has to be miyad. But the question is, what's miyad? So on that we have various opinions. And somehow...
So to avoid the problem, all she needs to do to be miyad.
No, she can't do that intentionally. She suspects that if she sees... Once there's a reusa, and we spoke about this, once there's a reusa, once she's seen it already, she can't say, well, this time I'm not going to check. We learned that before, that once there's a reusa means that there was once a problem, now she has to be more careful the next time around and check. Because, remember, and that is what we said last time too, that the first 3 times she has to check herself right away. Because there are some opinions who hold we have to rule this out, that she's not going to be... So, usually, it's not going to be a problem. If the problem is detected, she's going to have to check herself.
15 seconds.
Yeah, whatever. No, obviously, within a reasonable amount of time, see if something happened, or the next few times, just to make sure that there's no problem. But hopefully,
Search project.
no, not really. Yeah, this is only
busy with all these.
No, only in the beginning, according to some opinion. Now remember, according to many poskim like Rashi, you never have to check. Why should you? We have a klal. I didn't tell you about the klal. We have a chazaka. Rov noshim do not see machmas tashmish. And that roiv is a very helpful roiv that allows us to be lenient, also to be mitzaref, various heterim over here. They're not having to be concerned about it. Because there really is other possibilities of why she saw dam. There really is. And we're not talking about dam from a bug, like with stains. We're talking about injuries of all kinds. You know, that somehow she got hurt as a result of something that she did, or whatever, or an illness. And anyway, anytime this comes up, obviously a woman should check herself with the doctor, and this way she'll be a little bit more at ease if she turns out to be that the doctor says, oh, you have a scratch here, you got hurt here, it's a wound, and this of course will take care. All right, Mr. Shem will continue next week.